A high-profile breakup, a stalled career, and critical keyboard warriors. Taylor Lautner was just 16 years old when he starred in Twilight. Here's why he stepped back from the spotlight. Back in October 2009, two incredibly popular Taylors were the talk of the town. The second Twilight movie, New Moon, was set to be released the following month, which fans knew would heat up the tension between Taylor Lautner's Jacob Black and Robert Pattinson's Edward Cullen. Taylor Swift's album Fearless had been a smash hit the year prior, so it seemed to make sense when the two got together. At this point in time, Swift was known for brief flings that resulted in iconic songs, and by the end of the year, Lautner and Swift had split, and a new song was in the works. When Swift released her 2010 album Speak Now, it was immediately theorized that the apologetic track Back to December was about Lautner. It wasn't until 2016 that the actor confirmed that the song was indeed about his split from Swift. In December 2023, while Lautner and his wife were on the Call Her Daddy podcast, Lautner finally admitted that Swift broke up with him. However, the two have made up and are good friends today.
One of the greater things to happen in my life over the last year is the rekindling of our friendship.
While Kristen Stewart moved on from Twilight to have a successful career, even earning herself an Oscar nomination for her performance in Spencer, and Robert Pattinson secured his place as the new face of Batman, Taylor Lautner's career stalled. There are a number of reasons why his projects never seemed to compare to his co-stars, but it seemed to have all started with 2011's Abduction, which received abysmal ratings. As one producer told The Hollywood Reporter in March 2015, his first movie just wasn't very good, and it didn't justify what he was asking for at the time. To make it worse, Lautner was dropped by his publicist. Then just before the release of Lautner's highly anticipated Abduction, Robin Baum of Slate PR, who also worked for Johnny Depp and Daniel Craig, had represented Lautner for just 3 months when she cut ties with him, and rumor had it his father was to blame. The publication quipped that he wasn't, quote, the easiest guy to work with. In 2015, with the Twilight saga officially in Lautner's rear view, the actor had the freedom to branch out and prove to the world he could be more than just Jacob Black. But whether it was down to less than stellar offers or his poor decision-making, the actor's next couple of projects were total flops. Tracers, which was originally filmed in 2013 and released 2 years later, showcased Lautner yet again as an action star. Unfortunately, it received just a 24% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That same year, he starred in one of Adam Sandler's worst-rated movies of all time. Netflix's The Ridiculous Six received a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the Western comedy came under fire for lazy writing and cheap, sometimes racist jokes.
Where do babies come from?
Well, son, the mom just poops them out.
Lautner's character in Twilight was known for taking off his shirt, like a lot. Fans flocked to witness Jacob Black's six-pack for years, and he had to train like a fiend to keep up his physique. In speaking with E! News in November 2012, Lautner raved about being able to finally relax after being in the role for so many years. He told the publication, "I had to eat like 7 or 8 meals a day, and that was torture. So now I just eat like a regular person." Between Twilight and New Moon, Lautner's transformation was notable, as he'd put a lot of muscle on for the sequel. But the internet wasn't very kind when he went in the opposite direction to star in 2016's Run the Tide, as his character wasn't meant to be as muscular. He said on his podcast, The Squeeze, "I started having more normal of a body, and I remember one of the first times seeing it online was very tough." The star had seen a post with a side-by-side comparison of his current body compared to what he looked like during the Twilight movies.
I was like, oh man, did I really let it all go? I didn't think I looked that bad.
Lautner's love of dogs isn't surprising. He played a werewolf for years, after all. For over 13 years, the actor's loyal Maltese named Roxy had been a staple in his life. Sadly, in a February 2018 Instagram post, Lautner shared the tragic news that his beloved dog had died, writing, "You have brought so much joy into my life for the past 13 and a half years. I'll miss you every day, but I'll take those memories with me everywhere I go." Fortunately, Lautner can call himself a pet parent again, as he and his wife rescued 2 adorable pups, Lily and Remy. Taylor Lautner might not be one of those celebs who hasn't aged in 20 years, but he's certainly aged gracefully. Unfortunately, that's not the consensus several internet trolls seem to have reached back in May 2023. Lautner shared his thoughts in an Instagram video at the time, saying that he had just returned from a run and was feeling good about himself when he began scrolling through the comments section of a post about himself. The actor shared screenshots in which people had said he was not aging well and looked like old broccoli. Lautner explained that if he'd read those comments a decade ago or even just a couple of years ago, they would have sent him into hiding, but that he's in a much better place today and has learned healthier coping mechanisms. He said, "You find value where you put it, and if you put your value in what other people think of you, that's how you're going to feel." Despite the negativity he'd read, the star insisted that people should spread positivity rather than drag others down. Fearing for the well-being of a loved one is bad enough, but it gets a lot worse when you have to face a health scare in public. At least 3 times, Lautner has had to stand by and hope for the best with 2 important women in his life, his little sister McKenna Moore and his wife, Taylor. On 2 different occasions, McKenna was forced to endure corrective surgery for heart conditions, both of which thankfully worked out. In 2018, Lautner shared an image to Instagram of his sister in the hospital, writing, "Second heart procedure is finally a massive success. Couldn't possibly look up to this little, not-so-little girl anymore. You are much braver than I, McKenna." Later in 2024, he stood by his wife's side as she went through a cancer scare. A lump was found in her breast, which thankfully turned out to be benign.
I was terrified, but trying not to show you that I was terrified.